And welcome to another episode of 30 Minutes Thursday Tea Time at 3:30. Today we'll be joined by the former CEO of Building Digital UK at the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport. We'll also hear from two members of our curated portfolio, Redwigwam, who help businesses and employees capitalise on the flexible work revolution, and Scribeless, who enable you to produce handwritten letters and content at scale. If you ever need investment advice or seek help with challenging financial matters or need some legal brainpower, then look no further than our fabulous sponsors Investec, Lewis Silkin and Hayes McIntyre. They're genuinely happy to give any friend of Grey Hair Works free advice to help you sleep better at night. For those who don't know who we are or why we exist, it's simple. We recognise that corporates needed to deliver more with less and more efficiently. External solutions are a great way of achieving this, but understanding what's needed, finding and utilising them isn't straightforward. This is especially so as increasingly youthful, uncouth vendors struggle to listen and are incapable of presenting to you in a way which makes sense. Grey Hair Works is different. We get to know you, understand your problems, and then suggest curated solutions, services and people who can reduce your headaches around insights, marketing, commerce, and strategy. We sift through the dross to find the gems which make a genuine difference and solve corporate challenges. We explain them to you in a no-nonsense and concise way and let you choose whether or when you'd like to engage with the vendors direct. It's not always that simple, of course. We also support with understanding where the opportunity to innovate lies. We scout for specific solutions for that specific challenge and curate, not because you can't, but because we can and do consistently, day in, day out. And yes, whilst we might have been around the block, we use our grey hairs to our advantage by getting to the heart of the problem and fixing it without a fuss. We're supported by a team of 75 mature C-level executives from major brands, retailers and agencies, from Dalston to Denmark, who help us make a genuine difference. And today, we're delighted to be joined by Raj Kalia. Raj's career arc has taken him from Carphone Warehouse to a director role at TalkTalk to becoming CEO of Building Digital at the DCMS, where he was behind the delivery of 4 major programs, including superfast broadband and, particularly relevant to me, rural gigabit connectivity, a program that is delivering better connectivity to the final 10% of the UK. Raj, welcome. Thanks for coming along.
Well, thanks, Alex, first of all. And thank you for inviting me to become part of the Grey Hair Works family. I feel like I kind of have the qualifications. I mean, a few years ago, I had no grey hairs. I joined the civil service and I have lost hair and I have grey hair. So eminently qualified. In fact, I don't know whether it's joining the civil service or having a child in your 50s. Probably the latter is what's led to my grey hair, I think.
Definitely. Well, I mean, and mentioning the civil service, for me, it's fascinating. How have you found, or how did you find the move from the private sector to the civil service or to government?
Yeah, I mean, I get asked this question quite a lot. It's a really interesting one, actually, because I never set out to be a civil servant. I just wanted to carry on doing amazing things, and the department I worked for, DCMS, was an amazing department, really. So the kind of breadth of things that I got exposed to in DCMS was truly amazing. But yeah, I mean, it was challenging. Moving to the civil service on a personal level was difficult for me because I lived in Manchester and everything was based in Westminster. I found that really peculiar because I was running a programme that was nationally based, but everybody was based in Westminster. I'd be sending people from Westminster to the northeast of England on day trips, and that didn't feel very representative of the UK. So that was a bit strange. Adjusting in other ways. I suppose I really thought that the pace of work was difficult. So I'd come from TalkTalk, a very fast-paced industry, fast-paced environment, and I felt it was a bit slower in the civil service. I'm really honest, not in a bad way. Funny tale about that was when I first did my first away day. I was told, Raj, you don't have enough breaks in the day, and we need to have more coffee. Do that. if we can do that, then we'll be all set for a good day. So, you know, I think there's lots of good things in the civil service. The pace of work was challenging. Constant attrition was difficult because people move from department to department all the time, and you know, pay is difficult as well because you know, people often move from department for very small increments in pay, and you can move so easily in the civil service. So keeping people is really difficult, and I'm sure we all appreciate this. And some of the presenters today will talk about, you know, once you've got good staff, you really want to be able to retain good staff as well.
Definitely. Well, I mean, you joined what, 3-4 years ago now,
Yeah.
and you were then hit by two sort of really major events, sort of Brexit and COVID. How does the government react in disaster mode?
Well, I mean, look, I went to the civil service because I wanted a challenge, and not only did I have my own challenge in Project Gigabit, but then yeah, Brexit proved to be a challenge, and then who knew about the pandemic and what that would bring. But I mean, just seeing the whole civil service act in disaster mode is amazing. I mean, Brexit was disaster mode of our own making, let's be honest, and it led to you know, very late decision making. You know, the whole process was designed to wait till the final hour or the final minutes of the final hour before anything happened, and that isn't really a good way for planning and deciding what you want to do for policy and so on and so forth. So that was challenging. And then the pandemic, the most amazing thing I found in the pandemic was when it happened, DCMS, let's say it was about 1,000 people, literally overnight, 1,000 people in a whole bunch of directorates were reinvented, and a new couple of directorates were created. So, you know, probably 300, 400 people changed jobs overnight and were in kind of pandemic response mode and working 24/7 and so on. It was just truly amazing to see how the civil service just rolled up its sleeves and responded to its sectors, to provide support to its sectors as well. So yeah, truly interesting. I feel really honoured and privileged to have not just led the programme that I led, but also be in government at a time of, you know, of a historic time.
Yes, blimey. And I mean, obviously, one of the things we're always interested in is innovation. And, you know, you're talking about being sequestered. No, sorry, sequestered is very unfair, but being up in the Northwest with, you know, the London being the centre of many things. Yeah. How did you cope with this sort of fiefdoms and silos?
Yes. Look, I mean, the civil service is siloed by design. You have different departments, and you know, the cabinet office in the centre tries to coordinate what's happening, but invariably you have competition between departments as well. Competition for spend. You know, they're all looking for a slice of the money that Treasury has in order to drive their own agendas, and even down to competition for announcements. For instance, it was rather amusing that I would find myself in a situation sometimes where there was a good announcement about projects in gigabit projects being delivered across the UK, and Treasury might want to steal the announcement rather than it be an announcement in my home department of DCMS. So you know, everybody's looking to try and make sure that they spin, and I mean that in the best possible way, the news to their advantage. But also, I think it's important to recognise that the civil service is full of really smart people as well, and very hard-working people. So it's constantly changing. You know, you can see the government today making changes to the civil service, infrastructure bank, and so on and so forth. There's always reorganisation, and I suppose the thing about the civil service that makes it different is politics. And I kind of remember, I mean, one thing I learned was that delivering programs and delivering political programs are two completely different things. And I really didn't understand that when I went into the civil service, and I absolutely understand it now that I've left. And, you know, part of my new role, I'm helping people understand what it means to work in the civil service as well. And
I mean, in terms of your approach with something like Project Gigabit, I mean, first of all, it'd be great to understand that a bit more on how it was designed to sort of elevate the UK and infrastructure as a whole. And has it worked, or is it working?
Well, I mean, time will tell in terms of has it worked. Project Gigabit basically was the evolution of 3 or 4 programs that I inherited. Fundamentally, it's a program that's spending £5 billion to deliver gigabit broadband across the final 20% of the UK. And how you do that is really quite complex. So what we had to do was to first of all, understand where the market was delivering so that we could define where the market wasn't delivering and then intervene in that area. And what we would do is to carve the country up into different procurement lots. And those procurement lots obviously would go out to tender, and then you would find somebody to deliver that procurement. Now that's a drastic simplification of what was, for me, probably 3+ years worth of work to decide how you carve the country up into procurement lots and how you do that in a way that suits the objectives of the program. And the Gigabit program is fundamentally tasked with delivering gigabit connectivity quickly, so at pace. It then has to make sure that it delivers to those that have need most, so not leave those behind. And it also needs to ensure that it does that with value for money, because it's taxpayers' money. So those things don't always all pull in the same direction. It was very challenging to kind of come up with a construct that works. But the unfortunate thing is that once you come up with a construct and you put it out there, the moment you put it out there, it actually changes, and it needs to change. So it's constantly updating every single quarter. And for me, that was my swan song. I kind of set it all up. When I joined, there was 50 people. When I left, there was 350 people. When I joined, it wasn't very digital. And when I left, it had a kind of digital platform at its heart to manage all of the data that it was going to be consuming. So setting it up was the exciting thing for me. Being around and delivering it, it was not really where I wanted to be. So that's why I moved on as well.
And I mean, one of the terms you used was quickly, but earlier on you said, sometimes government or the civil service is challenging.
Yeah.
Did you manage to bring any change to the infrastructure to allow things to be done more efficiently and to encourage ultimately the delivery of something like broadband, which is all about speed?
Well, but there's fundamental changes in Project Gigabit to its predecessors. So the Superfast program, for instance, was a program that was part funded by government and local authorities and was contracted by local authorities. So the power, in effect, in terms of procurement, was with the local authorities. I changed that. So I said, because we're going to fund all of this, we're going to procure all of it, and we're going to do that in a central way, so that it's consistent across the country and that it works well for those large providers, which previously would have had different ways of procuring in multiple different parts of the country, which was really problematic for them. So I remember doing an event where I invited loads of local authorities, probably had 200+ people in the audience, and I was in effect talking to them about how I was going to fundamentally change their roles and almost make them redundant. So it was a kind of turkeys voting for Christmas moment, I must say, but it was a challenge, but I genuinely believe we've done the right thing. And the program is by design centrally procured, but also locally delivered. So, it has to be delivered locally. As I said right at the outset, you can't deliver things from Westminster. You have to deliver things with a local perspective.
Well, thanks. And sort of final word, you've now moved on, you've recently moved on. And you're now involved with Project Reach. Can you sort of just tell us in 30 seconds what that's about?
Yeah, sure. Project Reach is a program that's being led by Network Rail to find somebody who can deliver trackside fibre across 16,000 kilometres of railway and a whole bunch of masts, so 3,000+ masts along the railway as well. It's a very challenging program. Delivering broadband is challenging. Delivering broadband on the railways is even more challenging. And in effect, I'm the first person in a joint venture between two companies, Cellnex and Neos, who are coming together to bid for the rights to do this. So I'm leading a team of about 30 people that are doing the bidding. And then if we're successful, I then head up the program as we start to deliver it. So I've gone from one big delivery program to another big delivery program, if you like. So,
but slightly more in private hands.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, that's great. I'd love to bring in Catherine now, because Catherine is from Redwigwam, and she is going to tell us a bit more about how Redwigwam helps the recruitment market and reflects that the world has changed when it comes to recruitment. So Catherine, over to you.
Thanks, Alex. So I think you'll probably agree that you will have to be on another planet not to hear about all the challenges in the staffing market at the moment. I think as you'll well know, all sectors seem to be struggling, from HGV drivers to care workers. There just don't seem to be enough people to fill the jobs that everybody needs. There's about 2 million open positions which need to be filled to really keep our economy turning at the moment. And we're seeing businesses having to do all sorts of different things, from operating to reduced hours due to lack of staff and lots of other drastic measures because of what the situation they find themselves. So I think the traditional approach which you'll see here is very much not fit for purpose anymore, particularly in the current environment. Hirers and workers' demands have changed, and employers are finding it extremely difficult to fill positions without added incentives. So in terms of how we're doing it differently at Redwigwam, well, we've taken out the middleman so that you can benefit from that. We have an AI-powered technology platform which gives you on-demand access with over 160,000 vetted and qualified staff. You can post a job for free, and you only pay for that. You only pay when that job is filled. The platform enables you to source, to choose, to book, to vet, and to rate workers. And as an added benefit, saves you a significant amount of money versus sort of traditional agency fees. And I think what the big difference is, we very much want businesses to see our community as an extension of your own team, but it's one that we've built lovingly, and we've lovingly built and nurtured. So we're very much about empowering businesses and employees via flexibility and choice. So some of the things that are different around the time we take to fill shifts, we're talking minutes and hours, not days and weeks. We're talking about no upfront fees. In terms of customer satisfaction, we're very different in that hirers get to rate workers. Workers also get to rate our hirers too. We fill roles very quickly, but the big benefit is the flexibility it offers businesses. So you can scale up or scale down at the touch of a button. You don't have to worry about any of those legal boxes. We've ticked all of those for you in terms of everybody's being checked for right to work. And it's available 24/7. So it's not about picking up the phone 9 to 5 anymore. This is a platform that you can have instant access to 160,000 workers across the country whenever you want to do that. And the types of businesses that are working with us really are across all industries. So brand names that you will recognise, retailers that you will recognise, but also from hospitality to warehousing to logistics to office and admin. There's lots of different businesses that have found that this is a beneficial way for them to now staff their businesses. So hopefully that gives you a very quick snapshot in terms of Redwigwam, who we are, what we do, and how we're really trying to bring flexible working to life in the economy.
That was really interesting, Catherine. Really good to hear things you're doing, especially with AI. Actually, really keen to understand a bit more about that. But I'm gonna talk about trends in a minute. I'd like you to. But can you tell us what type of roles you support brands with?
I think we're a bit of a one-stop shop, really. So we work with brands and retailers of all shapes and sizes, from startups, challenger brands to big household names, providing one-stop shop. Whereas brands have traditionally used us to support them to drive sales in store or online, we're actually now helping them with their own teams, with supporting warehouse pick and pack, office and admin support. With the retailers, it's about shop floor and replenishment staff, and then again also warehouse pick and pack. We've also been picking up cleaning work within retailers as well. And I think the big thing to note is we can either work directly with a business or as a second tier provider if they've already got resource, etc. in place.
Okay, and I mentioned trends before as well. I mean, the world's changed in the last 2 years or so. So what kind of trends are you seeing that you think are going to continue in the next year or so?
I think what we'll see is that businesses will hire less workers, but they will sort of borrow and rent more. So they'll utilise this sort of hybrid model. I think flexibility will very much shift from location to time. So we all think about flexible working as now working from home. Well, actually, it's also about having the working hours that we're covering. So this whole 9 to 5 day work day is over. It really has gone out the window, and I think COVID has speeded that process up. And we've already seen a lot of people switching industries. So that's obviously happened a huge amount so far within hospitality and care. But we've got now nearly a third of workers saying they would switch industries, and 19% would take a pay cut to enable them to work flexibly. So those trends are really very much changing within the marketplace.
Yeah, so a big kind of flexible working theme there. So how do you think the businesses are getting the best out of their flexible workforce nowadays?
I think one thing that's really important is about treating them as your own team and not agency staff, so to speak. Mm. So treating people properly is very much the ethos of our business, and we're huge advocates for that. And we'll actually choose not to work with businesses that don't fit in with that model with us. I think the other things that businesses or we're supporting businesses to think differently about is things about rotas. So how do you work on a hybrid rota model? How do you think about what the public transport is, either to your warehouse, your factory, whatever that might be, so that you can fit around people getting there? So this 6 o'clock in the morning shift times, well, actually, if you don't drive, how do you get to these locations? Think about how you incentivize loyalty. So you obviously, everyone have heard the amount of money that Amazon are throwing things at the moment. But it's how can you do things on a different scale, but also to sort of attract and also incentivize. And think about how inductions, so whereas inductions you came in, you did so many hours, etc., how can we use technology different? How can we use e-learning, video feedback and things like that, to really sort of mix things a little bit and do things differently to support the workers that are wanting to join.
Catherine, that's brilliant. And you talked about technology and engaging with workers, etc. And another way of doing it, which is why I want to now bring in James from Scribeless, is to understand how delivering personalised communications with folk can deliver huge upsides for corporates. So James, over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alex. So yeah, I'm James Nightingale, the CEO of Scribeless, and we turn text into handwriting using AI and laser printing to help brands delight customers with personalised handwritten notes. So we've got two main products. Either customers can send direct mail in the post. We've got facilities in the US, UK, and Canada. Or if you're an e-commerce brand, you can automatically print notes in your facility to include in orders. That's great for marketing and also gifting. And the reason we're doing this is because online shopping is brilliant, but often the offline experience isn't. In fact, my flatmate received an excellent example of this from Amazon a few months ago. This is from a company that prides itself on delivering a perfect customer experience, but it doesn't have to be this way. So we're trying to build products that pack more personality into unboxing and gifting experiences. And this starts with handwriting, but we've got a variety of products on the way that will make buying stuff online feel more special.
So let's come back to those products in a second, James, actually, but I've got
just a sec. I think James has got a couple more things to say first.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry.
Sorry, I paused too long. I'll jump back in. So yeah, our AI can learn any handwriting style. So if you've got kind of terrible handwriting like me, we do also have a wide variety on the platform. We model different ink flows from different pen nibs, different angles of the pen, create artificial ink pools. The end result is kind of remarkably realistic, and I strongly recommend getting a sample, and we'll have some details on how you can do that at the end. So we integrate with most e-commerce and WMS platforms so that brands can automate everything. And it allows you to personalize the message and design for different customer segments. And there are some really creative applications of this. My favorite of which is an online wine store. So when you buy a bottle of wine online, you get a personalized note in the box that makes a food pairing recommendation in the handwritten message. And they've got a QR code on the back that takes you to a video recipe. We're still waiting on some response data for this, but we do have a case study with some numbers on the next slide. So For Your Legs are one of the leading purveyors of medical compression socks in North America. We recently sent just over 25,000 letters for them to customers that purchased over 6 months ago. And they found that just over half of their recipients went on to make a repeat purchase within 3 weeks with a 13.2x ROI. And finally, because it isn't always about numbers, here's a sort of more smile-focused case study. We work with Daisy London, a jewelry company, to automate handwritten gift notes. And since they got started with us, their Trustpilot has exploded with positive feedback. I think we've just run out of time after this sort of brief interruption. So yeah, any questions?
Raj, over to you.
Yeah, sure, James. Is it only e-commerce brands you work with?
It's a bit of a mix. So primarily e-commerce, because after doing this for a while, we found that we deliver the best ROI to e-commerce companies. But also it's kind of a wide range of other industries as well. So professional financial services, real estate, charities, education. In fact, we've got some logos on the slides here. And with Christmas coming up, we're going to be sending a lot of Christmas and Thanksgiving cards. So yeah, wide variety of industries.
And tell me a bit about the kind of creative control. I mean, how much creative control do brands have over their own campaigns?
Quite a lot. So they can go on and upload their own design, their own brand elements, select their own handwriting style. But then also we do push customers in certain directions because we've got a lot of data on what works and what doesn't. So interestingly, one of our top customers, in fact, they're on the slide here, we really were pushing them to try a different handwriting style. And they found that their customer retention rate from first to second order increased by 3%, purely by changing from one handwriting style to another, because it seemed to suit their audience a little better.
Yeah. And so what's the future hold? What new products are on the way?
So we think there's quite a lot of exciting stuff that can be done around gifting, and specifically video and gifting. There have been companies that have tried some things before, but it hasn't always worked out brilliantly. But I want to be able to record a video at checkout rather than typing out a message, and then scan a card in the box that says, "Hey James, scan to see your birthday video," and then on my phone have family, friends sort of dancing around a cake and, I don't know, Snapchat style filters. There's quite a lot that we've got planned, and yeah, we've got something on the way at the start of next year, which should be pretty exciting.
Yeah, fantastic. Lots of ideas. So impress us then. What's the most impressive use of Scribeless you've ever seen?
So probably the wine company that we spoke about earlier, but if not that one, there's a luxury travel company based in London, and they automatically send a letter in the post when their customer is expecting to return from their holiday. And it's all automated through our HubSpot integration. So if somebody's due to arrive back from Australia, it might have a photo of the Sydney Opera House on the back and say, "Hey, Alex, I hope you had a great time in Sydney," something like that. And it's super personalized and their customers love it.
Great.
Fantastic. Thank you very much all. Well, as another half an hour sort of comes to the end, I want to thank all of our speakers today. Raj was great. We heard about delivering connectivity at pace, cost effectively, and his attempt, partly successful, at changing some of the government processes. We then heard from Redwigwam about how the traditional recruitment process is broken and how they have the world's most flexible workforce at your service. And then James from Scribeless about delighting customers with personalised handwritten notes, which deliver dramatic ROI. Please let us know if you'd like a sample for that, bingo@greyhairworks.com. And if not, if you've missed one of our previous sessions and would like to access a recording, please just let us know as well. Otherwise, we'll be back next month, Thursday, November the 18th at 3:30, where we'll be joined by the global e-commerce lead for future technology at Mondelez and two solutions partners. As ever, we'd love to thank our sponsors, Investec, Lewis Silkin and Hayes McIntyre. We'd love to thank you, our lovely audience, for coming. Second thank you for the guests, and look forward to catching up with you next time. All the best and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers, everyone.